people think the hidden costs in a custom home are sneaky builder fees. They're not. In Northern Colorado, I see folks go 50, even $100,000 over their budget, and it's almost never because their builder ripped them off. It usually comes down to 3 or 4 line items that no one explained clearly before they started. I'm one of the employees here at Homestead Home Builders in Northern Colorado, and after decades in this business, I can tell you, if you understand these hidden costs up front, you can absolutely stay in control of your budget. Let me walk you through it. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about in this video. First, we're going to break down the biggest phantom costs that blow up budgets here in Northern Colorado. These are things people don't see on that first rough estimate, but they show up later and sting. Second, we'll talk about your design choices and selections quietly add tens of thousands without you realizing it until it's too late. And third, I'll show you how timing, change orders, and a few small contract details can either protect your budget or wreck it. By the end of this, you won't know every little detail about custom budgets. That's my job. But you'll know the right questions to ask so you don't get surprised. Let me start with the biggest one I see up here, the dirt and everything under it. So let's talk about your land and utilities. Most folks come to me saying, we've got our lot, we just need a build price. And they expect a nice clean number. Here's what most people don't realize. In Northern Colorado, your lot can swing your total cost by 50 grand or more, even if the house plan doesn't change a bit. Now, why is that? Let's talk about it this way. If building the house is like putting a car in the driveway, the lot is the driveway, the road, and the gas station all rolled into one. If the driveway is steep, or it's way out in the country, or doesn't have utilities close by, you're paying to fix all that before we even swing a hammer on your walls. Let me give you a real-world breakdown of the hidden site costs people underestimate all the time here. Excavation and overdigging, foundation complexity on sloped or expansive soil, septic system versus city sewer, well and water quality versus city water tap, long driveways and extra flat work, utility runs, electric, gas, and sometimes propane. Here's a common story. A family buys a beautiful sloping acreage outside Fort Collins. They send me a Pinterest board full of ideas and ask, can you build this for around X? On paper, the house looks like it should fit, but when we dig into the site, we find we have to cut into a hill and build taller foundation wall. We need a full engineered septic system. Power is 400 feet away down the road. There's no gas, so we're talking propane or all electric upgrades. By the time you add all that up, the house budget just lost a big chunk to the dirt budget. That's where people feel blindsided. So what's the solution? Before you fall in love with the floor plan, you need a proper site evaluation and realistic site budget. Not a guess, not a we'll see when we get there. With our clients, we walk the lot, look at the slopes and access, talk with the city or county if needed, and start lining up realistic numbers for your excavation and backfill, foundation type and height, utility connections or well or septic, driveway length and material. If a builder gives you a house price without ever looking at your land, that's a red flag. All right, now that you can see how dirt can eat your budget, let's talk about the next big hidden cost, the stuff you see and touch every day. Let's move inside the house. This is where it actually gets a little fun and a little dangerous for your budget. Most people start with a rough budget in mind. They might say, we want to be around $800,000 all in. Then they show me photos of big kitchens, walls of windows, vaulted great rooms, spa bathrooms, and high-end finishes. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of those things. That's why you build custom. But here's what sneaks up on folks. Those pictures are usually not average. They're at the high end of the spectrum. Every little upgrade adds up. Let me walk you through a few of the biggest budget creepers in Northern Colorado custom homes. Windows and doors, kitchens and appliances, tile and flooring, specialty ceilings and beams, and outdoor living spaces. For example, windows. You might start with a plan that prices in standard window package, but then you say, we'd really love that 12-foot slider to the patio, and maybe a second one in the dining room. Each one of those can be 5 figures. Do 1 or 2 of those plus some upgraded black frames, and now that window line item just jumped $30,000 to $40,000. Same in the kitchen. You start with a good functional layout. Then we add a big island with waterfall quartz, built-in fridge, commercial style range, custom hood, an extra wall of cabinets or a butler's pantry. All great things. But if the budget never adjusted for these realities, it feels like hidden cost, when in reality, it's just unpriced taste. So how do you protect yourself here? First, be honest with yourself about the level of finish you want. If your inspiration photos are all magazine level homes, Tell your builder that on day one. Don't say average, then design high end. Second, insist on clear allowances that actually match your taste. If your builder gives you a flooring allowance that works out to say $3 a square foot, but every sample you like is closer to $7, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and overages. With our clients at Homestead, we try to get you into showrooms early. We look at the price tags together. We adjust allowances while everything is still on paper. I'd much rather have you say, okay, now we understand this house is going to be closer to X. Then wait until you've fallen in love with every finish and then tell you you're over budget. Now, even if you get the site and the selections right, there are still a few sneaky ways budgets get wrecked during the build. Let's look at those next. This is where things get tricky. You might have a solid plan and realistic budget on paper, but as the build goes on, life happens, markets move, you change your mind, and the way your builder handles that can either protect you or cost you. Let me break this into 3 parts. Timing and price changes, change orders, what actually included in that budget number. First, timing. Northern Colorado has seen some wild swings in material and labor costs over the last few years. If you get a ballpark number in January and don't sign a contract until June, that number may not be valid anymore. And that's where folks get upset. They think that rough number was a promise. It wasn't. It was a snapshot in time. So you want to ask very clearly. With our clients, we explain exactly what's locked in and what isn't. Once we sign a construction contract, we're working off that contract price and the allowances in. Before that, numbers will move a bit while we sharpen our pencil and get firm bids. Second, change orders. This is a big one. You're walking through the framed house and you say, you know what? Let's add a window here. Or let's upgrade this shower tile now that I see the space. Totally normal. Changes happen in every custom build. The problem is where there's no clear process and no transparency around costs. A good change order process should put the change in writing, show you the added cost or credit, get your approval before work happens, and update your running totals so there are no surprises at the end. A bad process sounds like, yeah, we'll take care of it. And then you get a big bill at the end with a vague line item that says extras. At Homestead, we are very straightforward. You'll see the change, the price, and what it does to the total. If you say no, we don't do it. If you say yes, at least you know what you were signing up for. Third, what's actually included in that budget number? This one catches a lot of people. You might get a price for a house plus standard site costs. But what about landscaping and irrigation, window coverings, barns, shops, or outbuildings, fencing, upgraded appliances? Sometimes those are included, sometimes they're not. If you assume they are, you might be off by tens of thousands. I tell folks this all the time. I'd rather have a slightly uncomfortable conversation up front about what the number doesn't include than so you get stretched too thin at the end because no one talked about it. All right, we've covered a lot. Let's put this together and I'll show you what to do next if you want help making these numbers real for your situation. Let me just recap this in simple terms. Hidden costs in Northern Colorado custom homes usually don't come from shady builders. They come from the lot, the excavation, foundation, utilities, and driveways, windows, kitchens, baths, finishes, outdoor living, the moving target, timing, change orders, and what's actually included. If you get clear on those 3 buckets early, you're way ahead of most people who decide to figure it out later. Now here's where most people ask me next, but how much should I really budget for my specific lot and the kind of home you want? Because every lot in Northern Colorado is different. Every family's wish list is different. And it's almost impossible to figure out from YouTube videos and online calculators. That's exactly why we offer a free discovery call here at Homestead Home Builders. On that call, we'll talk you through your land or the areas you're considering. Look at the size and style of a home you're thinking about. Give you realistic budget ranges based on today's market, and point out specific hidden costs that are most likely for your situation. No pressure, no sales pitch. Just an honest conversation so you can make smart decisions before you spend a dime on plans or land you might regret. If you're still in the research phase and want to keep learning, I'd also recommend watching our video on Avoid these 7 custom home mistakes in Northern Colorado. In that one, I walk through the biggest regrets I hear from homeowners after the fact and how to avoid them before you start. But if you're serious about building and you want answers tailored to your situation, click the link, request a free discovery call with our team, and let's see if we're a good fit to help you build a home you've been picturing. I look forward to talking with you.